back to another episode of Shamrock Sports. My name is Caitlin Klein, and I'm joined here with Sheridan Schofield and Ben Rohr. The campus energy is amazing today. There's a lot of alumni and a lot of people around, especially after the bye week. It's great to have all these people on campus again. And how are you guys feeling?
I feel great. I feel like you can't complain. It's going to be a home football game tomorrow, so super excited for that. The campus is electric. I think especially after the bye weekend, everyone's excited to get back out there, get back to watching some Irish football.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everyone I know has 4 relatives in town for this game. So it definitely, I think the biggest crowd, or this early, I've seen yet this season. So very, very excited for tomorrow at 3:30.
Yeah, hoping the team is really well rested and ready for the big game tomorrow against the Stanford Cardinal. The bye week had some pretty big upsets, though, I would say, that are worth noting, specifically the chaos between Vanderbilt and Alabama. Vanderbilt taking a historic win, Arkansas beating Tennessee by 5 points. Of course, we have Texas A&M blowing out Missouri, and Michigan losing to the Washington Huskies by 10 points. These are some really historic wins and losses, and how do you think these results will have an impact on Notre Dame, especially the game tomorrow?
I think it just reinforces that ranked teams cannot be overlooking unranked teams. I think there's been a huge trend, especially this year. Even we had it here with NIU. I think that there's many teams where you can't overlook them, and I think that the Irish, it just shows that I don't think there's going to be a single team this year that goes undefeated. So I think it just shows that they're still in it, but they do have to beat Stanford, and I think they have to beat them by a considerable amount. I think that they have to go for style points, try to get as many points as possible, just so that helps their playoff opportunities in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this particular weekend opened doors for Notre Dame that I think a lot of Irish fans never thought we would see open at this point in the season. With the Irish tied for 11th with Iowa State, that kind of sits them at about 13th with the Group of 5 team and the Big 12 winner having to be factored in, which is just one spot out of the playoff. Kind of astounding. And a lot of people are calling that Vanderbilt win the worst loss of the season. It's still NIU. But the fact that the Irish are able to, sort of overcome that already at this early on in the season, it's really, really surprising and honestly makes me a lot more optimistic for the Irish.
Yeah, the Stanford game versus Notre Dame from 2022, I think that's also worth noting.
Yeah.
Just kind of how close we came and how we thought we could beat them, and we all know how that turned out. So do you think this game tomorrow is another trap game just like 2022?
I do think it is. I think that there's a lot, the stars are kind of aligning. It's going to be the same kind of matchup. The Irish are coming off a bye week, so I think that they have the momentum. They're healthy. Most of them are healthy. They're definitely feeling good, and I think that it might lead to overlooking Stanford, especially with like USC and FSU in the future. I think this is kind of a game that the Irish might be overlooking and just looking on to just getting past it, and I think that's where the Irish then struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to, Sheridan mentioned FSU and USC, but you got to look at Army and Navy. Those are 2 undefeated teams that are playing really well that now people are sort of starting to predict as really big ball games, maybe even ranked matchups for the Irish. That is just not what you want to see. It's a very similar situation where the Irish have a lot of momentum going, really some optimism towards the playoff, just like we saw after Texas A&M. I pray. I said this on the show, I don't know that it was before NIU, where I want Marcus Freeman to have the Irish ready for tomorrow. I want every single game to be treated like a win and in, and we didn't see it with NIU, and you need to see it for Stanford.
And I think it's worth noting that this Stanford team is a stronger team than they were in 2022. I think that they're going to become, it's an older team, so there's a lot of people who have been playing on the team for years. They saw how monumental the game was in 22, so I think they're going to want to replicate that energy. And it's a big game for them. It is a rivalry game after all.
Yeah, 38th meeting between the Cardinal and the Irish.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have a repeat of 2022. Fingers are crossed. Hopefully it's a good game tomorrow and we blow them out of the water. But turning it over now to Jimmy Collins and John Bailey for their segment from the booth. Jimmy and John, take it away.
What's up, everyone? I am Jimmy Collins here with John Bailey, and we are on the call this weekend for the Notre Dame Stanford game for WVFI Radio. John, how are you feeling this weekend going into this matchup?
Well, first of all, I got to say, I love that we're playing Stanford. I think that's one of the best new rivalries Notre Dame has had, and I'm glad we can keep it at least for one more year. Stanford, they're not the most talented team out there. New head coach Troy Taylor is entering his 2nd season, and he arrived in Palo Alto with an empty cupboard. There was no talent there for the most part, so he's relied a lot on instilling deep preparation and a tricky playbook in his guys. You can expect a lot of play action this week, a lot of motion before the snap, an attempt to screw up the Notre Dame secondary on defense. But Notre Dame has one of the most experienced and just overall most talented secondaries in the country. They're not going to fall for that. I trust those guys in the backfield to be able to, see through the mist and really have a productive game against a shaky Stanford offense.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if there's one thing that Notre Dame has been able to hang its hat on this season, it has been the secondary and the defense as a whole. I have no worries there. I don't think you do either. Heading into the offensive side for Notre Dame, this is a Stanford defense that the secondary is pretty shaky. It ranks about 121st in the country in passing yards allowed, but a rushing defense that ranks 12th in the country with rushing yards allowed. And this is a Notre Dame offense that, as we know, has relied on the run a lot, and that is how Notre Dame has won games this season, with running the football, wearing teams down at the line of scrimmage with backs like Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and even Aeneas Williams. And then, as we know, Riley Leonard's legs have been a huge part of Notre Dame's success. So kind of, what do you think? Do you think Notre Dame will kind of open up the passing game, or do you think they'll still kind of go hard with the run?
I expect a game very similar to what we saw against Louisville 2 weeks ago. That's something that Marcus Freeman and Riley Leonard both commented on that they wanted to build upon during that bye week, and just a much more balanced offense attack. Yes, even against the 12th best rush defense supposedly in the country, they're still going to ground and pound. They're going to rely on giving it to Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and letting him just eat up yards on the ground. But we saw glimpses of Riley Leonard's potential as a deep passer. He has a pretty ball, especially with that back shoulder fade to the sideline, and I think you can see Mike Denbrock cook up a couple of deep shots. Maybe it's 2nd and 1 on the 34-yard line. They're going to go for the end zone, and I expect with the progression that Leonard's made throughout the season, those are going to hit, and Notre Dame should have a big game offensively.
Yeah, coming off of a big win a couple weeks ago against Louisville, coming off of a bye week, Mike Denbrock even said this week that he feels confident in the way that Riley Leonard has prepped, and he thinks that he is due for a big game, which Notre Dame fans, as we know, really want to see. So that is all we have from us here. Jimmy Collins, John Bailey, and go Irish.
Tune into WVFI.
Thank you, Jimmy and John, for that segment. Now turning a little bit to some of Stanford's struggles. Honestly, their quarterback is having some difficulties this season. Obviously, the Ashton Daniels leg injury from the Clemson game a couple weeks ago could have an impact, and also just kind of some inconsistent playing. So my question to you guys is, what do you think Notre Dame can do to capitalize on the struggles that Stanford is facing with their quarterback?
Yeah, you got to force them to the air. I mean, if Stanford is going to scare you, it's with Ashton Daniels' legs, and that's really was taken out a couple weeks ago and cleared the way for Justin Lamson, to make his first start against Va Tech last week, where, just 13 for 24, 103 yards. That's where the Irish need to drive the game. They're confident enough in their safeties, their secondary in general really is safe enough for this Stanford sort of pass attack to be the issue. I think that's really where you need to drive the game, because on the ground, Micah Ford and Chris Davis Jr., they're proficient backs, but I think through the air, that's where the Irish want to drive the game. That's where they control the pace, really.
Yeah, I think that Ashton Daniels, it's definitely something to capitalize on. I don't think that we should count out the possibility of him playing 100% tomorrow. I think that since this is a huge game, even though his legs, he did get hurt in that game, I think that it's still very possible that he could be fast and mobile tomorrow. But I think that with a team like Stanford, you need a quarterback that's able to do both. They're able to throw and run the ball, and I think that this is where Notre Dame could be getting some turnovers, could be getting some momentum there. It's just by taking advantage of that and using the strong defense that they have.
Yeah, Stanford has also been having a season with some pretty strong defensive running plays. So how do you expect that Stanford is going to use that to challenge Notre Dame tomorrow, and how do you think Notre Dame is going to react to that?
Yeah, this is if you're going to talk about a scary part of the team in general, it's got to be this run defense. 12th in the nation, just over 88 yards a game. It's really impressive, a top 25 run defense from this Cardinal team. But I mean, the Irish, that's where they excel on the offensive side of the ball, is Jeremiah Love, Price. It's those guys that are really driving the team. So everyone, we've talked about it so much on this show. Oh, Riley Leonard's arm, Riley Leonard's arm. I think despite how good this Cardinal team is, I think they're going to be able to break through that defense. Tristan Sinclair's, I mean, a very seasoned vet, having a great season, linebacker for Stanford. But still, I think even the pass attack that we saw against Louisville even was much stronger than once thought, because that Louisville run defense was the hardest we had faced this entire season. Now it's Stanford. And the Irish, they adapted. I think despite that, they're going to be able to fight through it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that definitely just being like versatile and having the plays ready to do, just depending on how Stanford's defense is playing. I think that Riley Leonard should be ready to throw, to run, just like play it by however strong Stanford's defense comes in, because I think that is like their strongest part of the game, and it is a huge game, so they're going to come in super strong with that.
Yeah, definitely just something to look out for on Stanford's team. But now we're going to pass it over to Peyton and Cash with their Chalk Talk segment. So Peyton and Cash, take it away.
I'm Cash Jones, joined here with Peyton Lacey, and today we're going to be breaking down the small changes that have positively impacted Notre Dame's passing game. So Peyton, take us off.
Let's get into it. First, looking here, we're at the Texas A&M game, first game of the year. Early in the game, you know, driving the ball a little bit, and let's just play the clip here, look at it. You know, love to see Leonard move the running back over here like he's about to do. Shows he's kind of changing the protection a little bit. Likes his matchup on the outside. But misses outside, just a miscue there. You know, and early in the season, you know, you'd understand that, but just kind of look out a rhythm there, okay? Receiver's running a different route, you're throwing a different route. You hate to see that between your starting receiver and your starting quarterback, you know?
Yep, and I would like to point out, it's more than just, you know, running the right route. It's about chemistry, communication, out of rhythm, trust. They're not having that here in this first game. It was a loud environment, but that's no excuse. You know, we're a winning football team. We cannot be doing that.
Yeah. And, you know, to put it back out there, we did win. Biggest win in Notre Dame history in a while, I would say. In a while. Last 5 years, probably. You would say that. So, great win, but still concerns coming out of week one. So now you're 1-0, and we move over here. We're playing NIU. We're in a game with a team that's...
And this is where we see those concerns start to show themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing a team that's not very good, you know. We should be beating this team. I think we were favored by more than 20 points. And so you're driving the ball late in the game just to go put it away, get out of Dodge, and you see this critical mistake. Interception. But I think it's just more than the interception here for Leonard. So I'm going to go back. So Leonard said in a post-game interview, bad eyes, bad feet, bad ball. Couldn't agree more with him here. Oh. Pause it. This foot is out there. That foot's way outside, pointing away from the receiver who's inside running the deep post. Then he's trying to throw it all off the back foot. Bad feet. Bad eyes. He's eyeing down Mitchell the entire way. Doesn't move the safety. And so, as a result, you see earlier, interception. Got to have the feet pointing in the right way.
And just looking at it right here, you have two open receivers you could hit. Taking in mind the situation, 2nd and 1, 4th quarter, trying to keep the sticks moving, just take the check down, take the small pass, take the layup. You don't need to go for something big here, especially on Mitchell's end. I mean, he may or may not have a step, but you're throwing into double coverage. That's just not a good idea. That's a lack of trust there once again.
Totally agree. But, you know, given that we dropped this game, I don't think this was the end of the passing game for us. I think we had a resurrection, and I think it started in the Miami of Ohio game. So here we are in the Miami of Ohio game. Boom. Okay. Driving late in the half. Got to have it. We really haven't been throwing the ball well this game. But Leonard drops back. You got a go ball up the sideline to Collins here. Look at these feet. These feet are pointed at the receiver, but he's going to do something else with his feet that's very, very important. It's called hitching up. So he's going to hit the top of his drop, move up a step, and let this ball go. And it's going to be a perfect ball. Something he didn't do versus NIU was hitch up. And boom, here it is. Hitches up, lets it rip, drops a perfect ball in the bucket. You love to see it from your starting quarterback.
Yeah, and for Mitchell here, it's just a simple go route. You know, he beats his man on the outside. He has a step. Riley's able to find him there. And that was the first passing touchdown of the season. So you got to think the wide receiver room is loving that. They're doing more than just screen passes, you know. They're feeling alive. They're feeling energetic, that they have the ability to score here, you know.
Yeah, and you can see it from the expression here coming off Colin's face here. Like, what, he's going at the crowd, he loves it, but someone else who loves it is Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman, Riley Leonard going at it. You love to see that. So then we fast forward to the Louisville game here. And you got a ranked opponent coming in town, okay? They're pretty good, got to have this game. And we just turned over their starting quarterback. So now you're going to come out and you're going to take a shot at the end zone. And I want you to watch Leonard's eyes and feet here, okay? He starts his eyes here at the progression. Collins is going to work across 2, but he gets it to Greathouse up the seam 3. But his eyes start here, works over, and he flips the hips, moves the feet, steps up, and layers the touchdown pass. That's what you want to see. He gets to that third progression, moves the safety, something he didn't do in an NIU game. So watch it here. Boom, steps up, feet there, throws the ball, touchdown. 6 points later. That's what you want to see. That passing game downfield is really stepping up as opposed to what happened in the NIU game.
I mean, Greathouse is wide open there. You know, if he doesn't get the ball, I mean, that brings morale down. You're losing your momentum, everything, you know. So it's very important for wide receivers that are open, they're in the end zone, it's a big game. They want to make that catch. Every wide receiver wants to make that catch. So for Leonard to be able to find him there in that situation, keeping the momentum going, it was good to see. It was good to see.
Totally. I totally agree with you. You got to get the ball to your open guys. And, you know, I think we're going to have a lot of open guys this week at Stanford, and I think we're going to throw the ball over the yard versus Stanford.
I'm excited to see it, Peyton. Peyton Lacey, Cash Jones, enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you so much, Peyton and Cash, for that segment. Turning now to some of the critical injuries that Notre Dame's team has had, how do you guys think that these injuries are going to affect the rest of the season? Are you concerned about them at all?
I think it's definitely concerning. I think that while Notre Dame has been able to find replacements that are able to do the job each week, like with injuries like Jordan Botello, I think that they were able to find a replacement for him. But at what point is it just you're asking too much from these replacements? At what point are they just getting so many minutes, like J.D. Bertrand? He came in as a filling in for someone else, and now he's getting heavy minutes each week. So at what point is that cumulative fatigue going to kind of catch up to the team? And it's not going to be the same team that's been playing together since last year and in the summer practicing for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even some of those replacements have started to get hurt. Boubacar Traore, who was just the most luxury of a replacement of all time when Jordan Botello goes down, who had just an incredible game against Purdue when he subs in there. Yeah. He's now hurt. That's someone we lost this past week. And it just, that's really what's disheartening, is where you're seeing maybe even like these third line sort of guys come on for the Irish Junior, Tue Alamaka, which again, these are very good, proficient players in college football. But it does sort of decrease maybe that level that the Irish could be reaching at their peak. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see maybe even a little KVA, Killian Viliamu-Asa. That would be exciting to see. He got some minutes against Purdue and had an interception and really, you know, made an impact. That would be super fun. But again, there's no positive spin to these injuries. It's really, those are the ones that are starting to dishearten me, like Traore, where he comes in and is having just a great stint coming in, and then he goes down. That's once you get those bigger games, again, not overlooking Stanford, but once you get those bigger games against a more athletic, talented team, that's when it starts to make me nervous on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think having that familiarity and having a team that kind of knows each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they've played together against other big teams, I think that's important too. So kind of having a new lineup each week is definitely a gamble that the Irish are taking.
Yeah, the injuries are definitely a concern, but hopefully Notre Dame still does their best to overcome that struggle. Passing it now to Fionn Murphy with a segment on volleyball and softball, and Chris Daly with his segment on the women's soccer team.
Guys, sports are just the best. As an exchange student coming here from Ireland, I expected to be going to football, hockey, and basketball games. But since arriving, I've realized just how high level and varied the sports at Notre Dame are. I've now made it my mission to go to as many different sports games as I can while I'm here, and I got started this weekend with an epic doubleheader of softball and volleyball.
I arrived at Melissa Cook Stadium at 11 a.m. Sunday to watch my first ever game of softball, Notre Dame versus Aquinas College. My understanding of the rules was limited, with my only frame of reference being a single game of baseball I caught in September. The morning was so bright that it made me realize why baseball caps are called baseball caps. I don't know, I'd always just assumed the term was an old holdover from fashion trends of the past, but apparently not. It does get really bright at ball games. What can I say? Ireland isn't known for putting the sun in Sunday. Even to a rookie observer, the difference in quality between the two sides was clear from the jump. Notre Dame built up a 2-0 lead after 2 innings, then made it 5 in the third and 6 in the fourth. Aquinas never looked close to scoring, while the Fighting Irish took advantage of the difference in quality to give nearly the whole team a chance to bat. The game drew to a close after 77 minutes, but before I moved on, I got talking to a few parents in the stands. They were kind enough to clarify some things I'd been confused about, like, why did the pitchers disappear into a small cage for most of the game? In response, they told me about the idea of a bullpen, then went on to explain the difference between infielders and outfielders, and finally the annual calendar of softball. Apparently, this was my only chance to get to see live softball while I'm here. I'll be leaving Notre Dame in December, and the ladies don't start playing again until spring, so now I'm definitely glad this fall scrimmage took place. Nothing beats seeing sport up close. It's impossible to hear the roar of the bench or see players repeat high fives to get a perfect one if you're not actually sitting in the stands. I then made my way over to Purcell Pavilion to see Notre Dame volleyball take on the Clemson Tigers. I managed to catch the tail end of the warm-ups, and seeing the athleticism of these players up close was remarkable. The leprechaun, Riley, was on top form as the game got started. I am, of course, not well versed in volleyball tactics or player evaluation, but Fighting Irish libero Hattie Monson really stood out to me. She was vocal and encouraging the whole game, and her effort and agility were incredibly impressive throughout. The game ended in a 3-0 sweep in favour of Notre Dame, but there were definitely moments of tension in the second and third sets, especially as the match reached its conclusion. The girls in green did enough to prevail though, and moved to 9-4 on the season. They're now set to take a 2-game road trip to Florida, playing Miami on Saturday and FSU on Monday. I intend to be at as many of the remaining home games as possible. It was fantastic to see volleyball in person for the first time, and I really wish we had such a high-flying culture of the sport in Ireland.
It was a really great experience getting to see those two sports for the first time. I felt super American at the softball on a Sunday morning, and volleyball, while I don't quite understand as much as I'd like to, I'll be back and I'll know more for next time. It was one afternoon, 2 new sports, 2 great results, and I can't think of a better way to spend a Sunday.
Chris Daly, Shamrock Sports, here at the Notre Dame soccer practice facility, home of the Notre Dame women's soccer team who just wrapped up practice. Led by freshman Izzy Engel, who has 10 goals on the season, the team is off to an 1-2 record in the season, and they have a 13th rank nationally. We caught up with Izzy to see what she has to say on the season. Izzy, coming into the season as a freshman, obviously you had big expectations, but I'm sure you couldn't have imagined just how many goals you've scored already, 10 and counting on the season. How surreal has it been for you thus far?
I mean, this experience so far has been completely surreal. I didn't have any of these expectations going into my freshman year. Coach Nate really helped us to give us confidence going in as freshmen, knowing that we're good enough to be at this level and good enough to perform. But, I mean, the teammates that I have, they've totally supported me, totally given me the ability to thrive the way that I have, and I'm so grateful for the support that we've gotten this season, and I hope to continue to just grow onto this as we go into playoffs this season.
Yeah, and you speak of playoffs for you, both personally with all the goals and then as a team. What are your goals heading into the rest of the season?
I mean, obviously our goal is going into playoffs is to win the national championship, and I have full belief that we can do it. This team is something truly special. I mean, the relationships that we have off the field show on the field, and that's also a testament to the team culture that our coaches and our upperclassmen have created. Our freshman class obviously has been performing really well too, and we are also just best friends, so I think that helps a lot. But our goal is obviously, again, win that national championship, go to the ACCs, win that championship would be awesome. And then personally, just continue to perform how I have been, continue to be confident, continue to be humble and grateful for every opportunity that I have on the field.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you were a Notre Dame fan as a kid.
Yeah.
So how amazing is it to be in South Bend in your first year? And then in the future years, what are your goals and what legacy do you want to leave on this program?
Yeah. I mean, every moment that I'm here, right when I get out of my dorm, I go and can see the dome, and it's just crazy to think that after so many years of being a fan, cheering on the Irish, to be wearing the jersey and to be playing for it and to have a role too on this team and contributing to our goals and stuff, it's just completely crazy. I still have a hard time wrapping my head around it. But the legacy that I want to leave is I want people to remember me for my playing, but also for the heart that I have. I want people to remember me as someone who competes hard, who pushes her teammates to be a better person and player, but also someone who is a joy to be around. And that's hopefully what my teammates would say. But yeah, just continuing to have a great spirit going into everything every day, even though sometimes it gets to be difficult, just being positive in every moment.
As you can tell, Izzy is not short in spirit or goal scoring ability. We also asked Coach Nate Norman what he has to say about the superstar freshman.
Well, she has this great combination of wonderful, just natural God-given gifts. Like, she's fast, she's quick, she's powerful, but like I said, she has this belief in herself, this confidence that when she gets in front of goal, she can score, she can set up her teammate, and she just has this relentless, ruthless attitude of like she just wants to keep going and going and going. And I think that combination has allowed her to kind of seamlessly transition into college, and it's fun to not only see what she's doing now, but continue to work with her and help her grow and reach her vast potential that she has.
A big thanks to both Izzy and Coach for their time. You can catch the Irish in action against Louisville away from home on October 12th, and you can catch them back in action here at Alumni Stadium on October 17th. Chris Daly, Shamrock Sports, and as always, go Irish.
Thank you so much, Chris and Fionn. Those were amazing segments. Now it's time for Shambuki, our favorite part of the show. I
Win
think
you
there's
some money.
Yeah, there's some pretty exciting games coming up. Are you guys excited?
Pumped.
Yeah.
Pumped to win some cash.
I'll start us off. My personal pick is for the Texas versus Oklahoma game. It's going to be a good one. Texas is favored to win by 14 points against Oklahoma. And honestly, Texas has been doing amazing this season. Quinn Ewers, the quarterback, he's been really strong. And even Jaden Blue, running back, he's really stepped up this year, and him and Quinn Ewers have some really amazing chemistry. So I think that they're a really strong team together, and it really pushes them ahead. Also, Texas's defense has been really strong this year too, which is probably going to be an obstacle for Oklahoma. I think honestly, the games historically have been really close between the two, and maybe emotions can take Oklahoma over Texas, but I think Texas is probably a safe bet.
Yeah, I think that mine's also kind of a no-brainer. I think that BYU is going to cover the -3.5 over Arizona. The Wildcats are heading to Provo, and I think that this is going to be a huge game for BYU. I think that although it is an afternoon game and they're not quite as used to playing in the heat like Arizona is, I think that they're notorious for their strategic conditioning, and I think the coaches will definitely have them ready for that. And I think that Arizona does have weaknesses against mobile quarterbacks. BYU is going to start off strong with Jake Retzlaff at quarterback, and I think that he can do some pretty big things for the game, for the spread. And I think it's worth noting that BYU is undefeated this year. They've covered the spread for almost all their games, and Arizona's only been able to cover it once. So I think win you some money.
Yeah, absolutely. BYU was against my Kansas State pick a couple of weeks ago, and they destroyed it, so I like that pick. I am going to Tempe, Arizona for the Utah Utes are headed to Arizona State and the Sun Devils. I think it's the rumor, it's just like he's questionable. Cam Rising may make his return in this game, which would be absolutely exciting, and that's why I'm going with this pick, is if he comes back for, he's working towards that 7th year of college football, older than 6 NFL starters currently. The last time we had a full season in 2022, threw for over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, really an impressive year. So if he's back, this 5.5 line against the Sun Devils is going to be blown out of the water. They're going to win by more than a touchdown if Cam Rising is playing in this football game. I think they could still do it if he doesn't, but if he does, I really, really, really like this pick. So that's what I'm saying.
I think these are some amazing picks.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, yeah. I think we're all pretty.
Cook up a little parlay. It's going to be great.
Oh yeah. That's it for Shambuki. So now we're going to turn to a quick advertisement for ND Sunrise before returning for our personal score predictions for the game.
Hey Irish, if you want to hear the news from campus this week, watch some exciting segments, or learn about this coming weekend's campus events, make sure to tune in to ND Sunrise, which airs every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on the NDTV YouTube channel.
Rock Sports. Now it's time for a quick look at the leaderboard before we get into score predictions.
Guys, let's look at the leaderboard.
I wonder who's on top.
Wait, who's in first?
Our very own Ben Rohr.
Oh.
Ben Rohr and Ryan Murphy. It's tied for first
He's there
place.
too, I guess. Yeah.
But Ben, I think I think.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lose it all this week, but
I
yeah.
think this is your week to come out ahead, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I love that take. That's a bet I'm making.
So big congrats to Ben and Ryan. And taking a look at our Shamrock Sports staff score picks, we have some pretty interesting picks. Jacob Irons, of course, voting for Stanford.
The obligatory.
No surprise there. Notoriously pessimistic.
And I want to point out station manager from last year, Jake Miller's in the house. He threw a pick on the board. Love to see it.
Yeah, very exciting. I think there's some interesting score predictions on here. Ryan Murphy with a really big win, I guess, for Notre Dame. So it's interesting to see how this game is going to play out. For me personally, I do think Notre Dame is going to win. I think it'll be a little bit of a blowout. I think maybe something like 38-18 Notre Dame. I think that could be honestly possible. I feel like Stanford's games have either been really close or kind of big blowout games. So I think that's honestly a safe prediction for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the roadmap of the game is going to be the classic Notre Dame kind of starts off slow. It's kind of close the first and second quarter, but then I think the third and fourth Notre Dame's going to really have some big plays. So I think 28-17. I do still think that the Irish are going to pull it off, but I think that first two quarters for sure it's going to be everyone's going to have to be looking around wondering if they really do have it.
I like it. Well, I'm not confident that the Irish are going to win 10 in a row and make a college football playoff. This isn't the one they dropped. 41-14 Irish. I hope I do enough to separate myself from Ryan Murphy. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it, with both of us going with hefty Notre Dame wins. But give me a couple takeaways for the Irish. I think they've got this one.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say most of us here at Shamrock Sports think Notre Dame's going to win this one, all except one.
Yeah,
Jacob Irons.
Making me nervous.
Yeah. But honestly, I think we're in for a real treat tomorrow. It should be a really interesting game.
Good weather, good vibes on
pretty
campus.
Optimistic,
Absolutely.
So it should be a great segment. Thank you so much for tuning in to Shamrock Sports today. My name is Caitlin Klein. I'm here with Sheridan Schofield and Ben Rohr. We'll see you next week, and go Irish.